Why do you always irritate me like that? I never meant to. I've had enough of being bossed around by you. Just disappear." With a condescending expression, my mother-in-law uttered those words. There was no immediate response to this sudden outburst, but I remained calm. I'm fed up with being tied down to this family. Fine, I'll leave, just as you wish. In return, I don't care if you regret it. My stepmother still doesn't know. What will happen to this house if I leave? My name is Ava, 30 years old. I've been married to my husband Oliver for nearly 2 years. We have a great relationship since we were together for a long time before getting married. But that was up until a year ago. That day a year ago, a phone call from my husband changed my life. It was a cold winter day. I don't work at a company. I run an online shop. So I usually stay at home and only go out to search for new products. On that day, even though it was only 3 p.m., I received a call from my husband. "Ava, something terrible happened. My dad, your father, what happened?" Mom called me, saying that my dad collapsed. He's being rushed to the hospital. No way. Your father is being rushed. I'm heading to the hospital too, so please come right away. Here's the address. I wrote down the name of hospital and hurriedly headed to the next prefecture. I took a taxi from the nearest station and rushed to the designated hospital. But it's too late. When I arrived, my father-in-law had already passed away. This can't be. Father-in-law, why? In the hospital room, my husband and mother-in-law were already there. My mother-in-law was crying, covering my stepfather, and my husband gently patted her shoulder. As I stood there stunned, my mother-in-law turned to me and said, "Ava, I need to talk to Oliver. Can you leave us alone?" "Huh? Oh, okay, I understand. I'll go outside then." "Yes, that would be helpful." Following her instructions, I quietly left the hospital room. About 10 minutes later, Oliver arrived, and we decided to go home for now. On the way home, memories with my father-in-law come back, and my tears suddenly burst. Not being able to see him before he passed away intensified my regret now. A few days later, the wake and funeral were held, and we bid farewell to my father-in-law. That night, after the funeral, my husband dropped a bombshell. "By the way, I didn't mention it before, but we're moving at the end of this month." "Moving? What are you saying all of a sudden?" "Sorry for suddenness, but it's already decided." He took a beer out of the fridge and started chugging it down. I momentarily froze, unable to comprehend the situation, but quickly regained my sanity. "Moving? What does that mean? I haven't heard a single word about this. And by the end of this month? Isn't it too sudden?" My husband still hasn't mentioned the most crucial thing. I asked him the thing that concerns me the most. "Hey, where are we moving to?" "Huh? It's my parents' house." "What? Your parents' house? Why?" "Well, isn't it obvious? It's because my mom will be alone." "You mean, your mother?" "Could it be related to the conversation she had at the hospital the other day?" "Oh, right. My mom asked me to live with her because she felt lonely being alone." "And you agreed just because she asked?" "Yeah, why?" I couldn't even sigh anymore at my husband's nonchalant response. Still, I couldn't accept being arbitrarily decided for, so I expressed my feelings. "But why didn't you consult with me even for a moment? I can't just move like that." "Huh? Why would you have a problem? You're a stay-at-home wife." "What are you saying, Oliver? You know that I work from home, right? But that's at home, right? There's no need for a commute, and as long as you have internet access, it doesn't matter where we move." "That's not the point. Anyway, it's already decided. My mom is worried too. Start packing for the end of the month." With those words, my husband turned on the TV, intentionally increasing the volume to drown out my voice. His behavior infuriated me, and I went to bed without saying a word. From the next day onwards, my husband started saying this almost every day. "Make sure you pack in time. Put my things in clearly labeled boxes. Since you're always at home, you should have plenty of time, right?" And so on. Certainly, it might be easier than working as a regular office employee, but recently, my work has been busy, and with the increase in sales, there are more inquiries. Since I handle everything on my own, it inevitably takes up a lot of time. However, no matter how much I explain, my husband doesn't seem to understand. In the end, I had to sacrifice my sleep time and juggle work and packing at the same time. As scheduled, we will move at the end of the month, and life at my in-laws' house begin. It was far more grueling and mentally exhausting than I had imagined. I'm basically responsible for all the household chores. Even when I suggested sharing the responsibilities, it was never accepted. On top of that, my husband and his mother blaming me together. Ava, since you're at home, you should be the one doing the housework. That's right, Ava. After all, you are the wife of the Santos family. But I also have work. You're just tinkering with the computer, right? You have plenty of free time, so manage it well. Or is it taking you so long to do a single household task? And no, it's not like that. Then you should be able to do it, right? Make sure you don't inconvenience my mother. I do it properly as the Santos family's wife. This is such. Since then, the amount of time I can work has drastically decreased. If I don't finish my chores, my mother-in-law comes into my room to complain without any mercy. She walks in without knocking, doesn't even try to hide her grim face, and starts to lecture me. Hey, Ava, the laundry isn't finished yet. Huh? No, I just finished hanging it all up. It's not done. The towel I just put in the laundry is still in the basket. It's that, you put it out after I turned the washing machine, right? I will wash that towel tomorrow. Don't talk back to me. Just do as I say. My mother-in-law's eyes changed color as she yelled at me. Once this happens, her tirade continues until I do as she says. With no other choice, I interrupted my work and started the washer again. Just for one little towel. After months of such days, even I was nearing my breaking point. One day, I consulted my husband about my mother-in-law after he came home from work. Just before bedtime, I casually broached the subject to my husband, who was already in bed. You know, Oliver, I have a favor to ask. A favor? What's that? Can you tell your mom not to come into my room when I'm working? She comes in every day without even knocking. It's hard to concentrate on my work. Why are you telling me that? Why don't you just tell her yourself? I've told her so many times. But she won't listen to me. My husband let out a big sigh and replied in a languid voice, Look, do you know why my mom comes to your room? What? Because you're doing something that annoys her. You're slacking off on your house chores, aren't you? That's why this is happening, right? Wait a minute, I'm not slacking off. I heard it from my mom. You forgot to wash the towel the other day, didn't you? And the food you cook doesn't taste the way she wants it. Why can't you just get it right? Oliver. My husband, who was supposed to be my only ally, was completely siding with my mother-in-law. Faced with this harsh reality, I couldn't find the words to respond. Why, Oliver? Why won't you help me when you see how much trouble I'm having with your mom? The only one who can do anything about this situation is you, Oliver. After I talked to my husband, my mother-in-law's attitude toward me only got worse. Perhaps Oliver's work stress increased too, because he was always in a bad mood at home. He showed a smile when he talked to his mom, but his attitude toward me grew colder and colder. One such day, my husband came home late from work. His face was red, and I could smell alcohol from a distance. Hey Oliver, how much have you had to drink? Shut up. I got fired from my job and I'm pissed off. What? You got fired? What happened? Like I care. They fired me over such a small mistake. Damn it. He gathered up all the alcohol in the fridge and started drinking heavily in the living room. He said, for such a small mistake, but there is no way that a mistake enough to get him fired can't be that small. But instead of reflecting on it, Oliver didn't accept any of his faults. Let's leave this aside for now and go to bed early today. As I was about to leave the living room, leaving my drunken husband behind, then, Hey! At the sound of Oliver's voice, my whole body shuddered. Double what? I asked back, and he declared, Until I find my next job, we're going to make ends meet on your income, got it? Double what? Wait a minute, I've been contributing $2,000 up until now. From next month, it's $3,000. At least we're saving on rent. That might be true, but I can't handle $3,000 all by myself. I saw your bank account. You're earning over $5,000 a month, aren't you? $3,000 should be easy. Double what? You looked without asking. We're married, so there's no problem, right? Anyway, make sure to bring $3,000 home. If you don't like it, we'll get a divorce." With a flourish, Oliver pulled out a divorce paper from his bag and threw it at me. Maybe I should have taken this step to divorce right then and there. But at that time, I didn't have the option of divorce. I was just confused by the fact that Oliver had lost his job. Plus, at Oliver's command, I was forced to keep the firing a secret from my mother-in-law. In order to avoid suspicion from her, he would put on a suit every morning and pretend to go to work. How long will this life continue? I won't even be able to save properly at this rate. The fact that I'm earning over $5,000 is only recent. Until a few months ago, I was making about $4,000, and I used to give $2,000 of that to my in-laws, leaving me with $2,000. From that, I would send $1,000 every month to my parents as a way of showing my gratitude. As a result, leaving only about $1,000. I had been hoping to expand my own shop and even have a physical store, so I was desperately saving money, however small the amount was, but this is just pointless. While hoping that Oliver would find his next job soon, I somehow endured this life. But even after more than 6 months, he hasn't found a new job yet. It seems like he started a part-time job a few months ago, but the income is only a few $100s a month. Since he spends all his earnings on himself, he's not supporting the household. And yet, my mother-in-law still verbally abuses me as usual. Combined with the stress of my husband being fired, one day I couldn't help but talk back. "Mom, if you have so many complaints, why don't you do everything yourself?" What, Ava, what kind of attitude is that towards your mother-in-law? I'm busy with work too. I'm doing the bare minimum housework, and I can't handle any more. I snapped back and suddenly came to my senses. But it seemed that I had already stepped on a landmine. My mother-in-law was fuming. Why do you always make me so irritated? I didn't mean to. I've had enough of you being bossy. Just get out. That was when it happened. The anger in me turned to resignation. There's no point in dealing with this anymore. I realized that in an instant. Okay. With that, I started packing my things. My mother-in-law watched the whole scene with satisfaction. Fortunately, a local budget hotel had a vacancy, so I decided to stay there for a few days. During this time, I went to the town hall and submitted the divorce papers that my husband had previously given me. And so, I was finally released from the curse of those two people. After staying at the hotel, I signed a lease for a monthly apartment. During this time, I visited a real estate agency and rented an apartment near a plot of land where I wanted to open a shop in the future. One day, about 2 weeks after I left my in-laws' house, my ex-husband Oliver called me, seemingly at the end of his tether. Right off the bat, he started berating me. "Enough already, you foolish wife. How long are you going to keep wandering around until you're satisfied? What are you on about? It's been 2 weeks since I left the house. My mom said she'll give up and come back after 2 weeks, so I left you alone. Yet, there's no contact from you, no signs of you coming back. Where the hell are you? Why should that matter to you? I have no obligation to tell you where I am. What? Don't mess with me. You may be useless, but you're still my wife. Stop goofing around and come back." He didn't seem to realize that I had already submitted the divorce papers. Suppressing a surge of laughter, I calmly opened my mouth. "Excuse me, but I am single now, you know." "Huh? What are you saying? If you don't believe me, why don't you go to the city hall and check? The divorce papers you gave me earlier have been accepted." "Hey, wait, are you kidding? You submitted the divorce papers, there's no way." Then, it seemed like my mother-in-law was listening to our conversation, and I heard her voice saying, "Let me talk to her." She began speaking to me over the phone in a coaxing tone. "Ava, come back, all right, I'll forgive you if you come now. Forgive me. I'll forgive you for leaving on your own accord, and for all the disrespectful things you said. Just please, come back home." "What are you talking about? I have no regrets. In fact, I feel relieved. I have finally been freed from a mother-in-law who bullies her daughter-in-law and a jobless husband." Jobless husband? Are you talking about Oliver? He's not jobless. He goes to work every day." "He wasn't going. He had been fired and was hiding it from you." Hiding it? Yes, you're the only one who didn't know. After Oliver became jobless, I had been supporting your livelihood for over half a year. If that's the case, please come back. Aren't you worried about us? You're persistent. I've told you, I don't want anything to do with you two anymore. Ava, please calm down. Let's talk this out. There's nothing left to talk about. Discussing with you two wouldn't solve anything. I will never forgive what you've done to me, no matter what. I'm fed up with being manipulated by you two. I deeply regret not taking this step sooner. Why don't you, as a mother, support your jobless son? Bye. Wait, Ava, please, help us. Without listening to the end, I tossed my smartphone onto the bed and pumped my fist in victory. I did it. It's finally all over. The satisfaction of venting all my resentment and anger at them, hearing their cries of distress. Seeing them realize how important I was to them, desperately clinging on to me. Some might say I'm mean, but it's a fact that it satisfied my thirst for revenge. Now, I can move forward without any regrets. As I expected, they seem to have suffered a miserable fate afterward. The mother-in-law blamed Oliver for getting fired, and Oliver blamed his mother for pushing me away, which led to a massive argument. From my perspective, both are to blame. Eventually, Oliver left home and got a job at a low-paying factory where he could live in. The mother-in-law was forced to live a meager life on Social Security, and their lives changed completely. What kept them together was merely money and a stable lifestyle. Probably, they will never reconcile in the future. As for me, I'm preparing to open a physical store. The location is small, but I'm just a step away from opening the kind of boutique I have always dreamed of. Once things calm down, I will visit my parents back home. I'm all right. I am certainly happy now. I'll keep moving forward, without taking this happiness for granted. That's what I've decided in my heart.